President Yoweri Museveni has assured the private sector that the new campaign to rejuvenate the grassroots into modern agro-production will see higher returns that must be exploited by the private sector through value addition for export.
Select enterprises which you can do on a small area but get good income. The Kakutomera, don't just bump into things. So therefore, when you hear this campaign which we are involved in, it is doing two things. First of all, three things actually. Number one, converting the bystanders into participants. Everybody must participate. Secondly, do so with the chibaro, with the calculation. Do so with the calculation to ensure that the homesteads get maximum return. And thirdly, of course, increase production for the country.
The campaign, which is on now, the Parish Development Model, is aimed at bringing the 68% of Ugandans who are bystanders in development to get involved in economic transformation. The President said that those with small acreages of land will select enterprises that have big returns like coffee, fruits, poultry and piggery among others. With intensive agriculture, people can use their small land to get out of poverty.
From the beginning, we were very clear. That's why we encourage the local people, like the father of Barbara, Ruana. But we also brought back our Indians, the ones who had been chased by Idi Amin. They came back.
The President, who was accompanied by his wife, who is also the Minister of Education and Sports, Honorable Janet Kataha Museveni, said the aim is to convert Ugandans who are bystanders in the economic transformation struggle into participants. President Museveni said the private sector is the easiest way to develop the economy because companies do the work of government cheaply. Among other things, the President pledged to promote the protection of local products from Chinese and Indian subsidized products, provision of cheaper power for production, cheap financing for the private sector to borrow, and support to the Kasita.
Number one, you have shown the progress we have done, how you have come up. The middle class has come up. You have got local products. And the first point of intervention I want to be involved in is taxing imports. I totally agree. If you have got import products here, locally made, we should tax the ones from China and from India.
The President and the CEOs discussed in depth the issue of exploiting the vast trade potential with DR Congo, including provision of an export credit guarantee, expanding power to the DR Congo, funding the Uganda air cargo, construction of toll roads into the DR Congo, and empowering the national broadcaster UBC to broadcast across the border. They also discussed the issue of appointment of a commercial attaché who can speak various languages to Uganda's foreign missions, lifting the ban on Facebook to allow online business since URA has now put in place mechanisms to tax online businesses and provision of cheap power for production. Prime Minister Honorable Nabanja Robina briefed the President on the countrywide awareness about the PDM and said people are generally excited and anxious to finally undertake in enterprises that will put money in their pockets.
I wanted to give this highlight in the presence of CEOs because when we fight poverty and when our people become productive, then we shall have a challenge of marketing. Excellency, we are going to be very productive this time around in the country. And therefore, our brothers and sisters who are here need to prepare accordingly.
The Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, Honorable Mattia Kaseja, informed the CEOs the government is financing local actors through Uganda Development Bank and therefore they should visit there when need arise. He urged them to work together to resolve any technicality appropriately.
Private sector, let's work together. Wherever you have a complaint, wherever you have, I have been speaking to my daughter, Mulwana, often enough. Every time she has a challenge, I tell her, come and we talk. All right,
Ms. Barbara Mulwana, the chairperson of Presidential CEO Forum, on behalf of the CEO said that the Presidential CEO Forum mission is to promote, enhance and popularize the private sector involvement, providing a platform that advocates for appropriate legislation, practices and policies that eliminate bottlenecks to economic development.
Your Excellency, our themes here today is positioning the private sector for new markets and business opportunities for sustainability and thriving economies in the region and the Africa continent. This is a very urgent and a very big call to action.
Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, the Vice Chairman of the Presidential CEO Forum, assured the President of their solid support towards the economic development of the country and added his great leadership has enabled Uganda to move to a middle-income country.
This shared vision is something that positions the private sector for new markets. And because of this great leadership that you're giving, it's no wonder, and very truly we're experiencing it, that we're moving into a middle-class country.
President Museveni launched the Presidential CEO Forum in 2020, noting that the forum will help government to identify bottlenecks to business and economic growth in the country. The meeting was attended by the Prime Minister Nabanja Robina, Minister of Finance, Planning and Economic Development Matia Kasaija, the Minister of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Honorable Mwebesa Francis, Keith Makanizi, Permanent Secretary in the Office of the Prime Minister, Geraldine Sali, Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives, Presidential CEO Forum Kampala, board members and Secretariat including Ms. Barbara Mulwana, the Chairperson, Mr. Emmanuel Katongole, the Vice Chairman, Dr. Ramadhan Ngowi, Permanent Secretary for Finance, Dr. Ruth Bianzika of Private Sector Foundation Uganda, among others. Sandra Kahunde, UBC News.